income that Gary shares, and he said something very very interesting that we all know is no transactions take place in the real estate industry without us knowing about it. So if you see a deal or if you see something, you should always say, hey, should I buy this before, and Brad has been saying this for years, should I buy this or should I do something with it or find an investor? So always think of yourself as well. And I will say some of the properties that we've purchased were not the best deals. However, we saw potential for them, and that's what prompted us to make those purchases. If they were in an area that was going to appreciate, or if it was in a strong area that we thought would secure a good solid tenant, that's how we selected our properties.
Okay, so you have 5 currently?
Yes.
And tell me if I'm being too forward, but like what do those flow monthly?
After our net income from totaling all 5 is right around $8,000 a month.
I'm just gonna bask in that thought, you know. So imagine that, 8,000 coming in a month before you even go to work. Okay, for some people, they'd be done. Okay, I mean for some people, not even close, but that's doable for the bulk of the planet, right? So if you can, that's what the purpose of this is. We're trying to get you to feel and touch what is happening in these people's life as a result of this meeting, and I think hopefully it will inspire you. You heard something from someone that made you go for that. So, and Gary's always said that. Gary, from way back, has always advocated having 6 or 7 streams of passive income. So that makes a big difference
It does.
in your life. But to do it, you have to have a plan. Well, first of all, the first step is you got to say, I'm going to play. Okay? That's the first step. And then we need to develop a plan. And for some of us, we have the plan, but the first step of actually purchasing could be longer than shorter from what we talked about before. I'll go over that again. But you got to say, I want to play, and then have a plan. Marty.
Michael, do you have calculated your rate of return? You know, a lot of people have 10, 12, 15% they target.
Yeah, we're not there. You know, some of the properties we've had for quite some time, you know, and I have to thank Randy Lip actually back in 2012 for changing our lives, because we had interest rates that were pretty, you know, they were pretty high at that point. And Randy contacted us during the shift in the market and said, you know, interest rates for investor loans are at 3.25. So one day we contacted Ganick, we got Randy in the loop, and we spent an entire day refining all of our properties. And that just, it really made a significant difference in our cash flow. So our ROI, you know, based on our original down payments, they're anywhere from, gosh, because I calculated this just recently, it's 20% or over.
Wow.
But again, we've had these properties for a while, so I'm basing it on what our down payment was, basically just our down payment and out-of-pocket cash, what our cash flow is, less expenses, divided by cash we put in, and we have 37%, 26%, 23%, 20%, and a huge loss from a renovation. So, but that's sort of what we're netting on a yearly basis.
Okay, so just on that question, Dave, is there a minimum return on your money that you are looking for? Minimum, you won't even consider it.
I think for us, I don't know if we really sit down and have gone that far into the numbers. We're actually in the process of trying to find someone that will do our P&Ls for that. But I think for us, we're looking, we like to have a steady cash flow of, I think right now, we're about, on average, about $5 to $6 grand a month.
Okay, and how many properties?
That's only with the 2 properties that we have.
Wow.
active.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So obviously you're hearing pretty cool stories. It should inspire you. I mean, just imagine, I don't know, it might, I didn't say this, but maybe drink a glass of wine or have a beer and just free think and imagine these numbers that just show up in your mailbox on the first of every month. Your life is different. And interesting, mine's in the exact same range between you, actually. Okay? So, I would say most people you talk to, no one wants to buy something they're not getting a 10% rate of return on their money. I've told you, who's the guy? The guy I told you about last week. That has 800,000 of flow every month. I'm forgetting his name. Anyway, his number's 15. He won't do anything for under 15. So you have to determine what you're looking for and stick truly with that. And you've already found out there's a lot of ways that a property can work. Okay, there's a lot of factors in the purchase of a property. So one, obviously, is the rent you can get for your payment. But what makes a successful investment? And a piece that most people miss, which might be the biggest piece that you just said, is financing. Okay. Sometimes it always occurs to me when I go to restaurants. So let's say I go in Houston's, and when I go, I'm just like, oh my gosh, these people. I mean, what do they make a night here? There's an hour wait, and the prices seem pretty high to me. I'm like, they must be killing it, but not necessarily so. Okay, you could have a place that's just there's people lined up out the door, the cash register's ringing. But if they didn't finance it right, let's just say that Houston's opened at the peak of the market, okay, where they had to pay top dollar per square foot. They could have this, they would actually have to perform at perfection to make money, okay? Where it's surprising. Sometimes you could, restaurants are just a good example to me. You could go in a place and say, they're half full. And they could be killing it because if they actually got into that situation at the bottom of the market and they have this low rent, they don't have to make as much to make money. So that is a key point. I mean, your financing and how it's financed is a massive piece of this.
And appreciation, is just provides so much leverage. And I think that's really what helped us early on in expanding is the ability that, as a result of the properties appreciating, that we could refi those and pull equity out to make other investments with. That was key. And then we completely lucked out that we had a crash in the market and the rates went down. I mean, that was really a big help for us. I wish we would have had more cash available during that time frame because how many deals that we saw and it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to sell this to someone else because I don't have the scratch now. And this year.
So downturns are not nothing's good or bad. It's just the way you look at them and how they're positioned. So there's a lot of people, and it's probably a smaller percentage. Most people are upset and it hurts them in a downturn. But probably the wealthier side of this country probably are quite excited in a downturn. Right, if you have cash available. Andrew?
Michael, do you mind sharing a little bit more about your renovation nightmare?
You know what? It wasn't so much a nightmare. It was just something that had to be done. So we purchased the home. It was one of the situations where it was in our neighborhood, and we were going to list it. And it was people who purchased the home 35 years ago, and they were the original owners. And we gave them the price, and then we said, well, listen, we'll purchase the home for this price as well, or we'll list it. So we purchased the home, but it was not touched in 40 years. So we had a tenant in there for about 2 years, and it made some good cash flow because we got the right tenant. And then when that tenant left, we thought, well, maybe we can flip it, you know. So we completely updated it. Kitchens, baths, granite, flooring, just pretty much touched everything. We didn't go into structural, it was just aesthetics. And we put it on the market, and we put it up for lease as well. And we put it up for lease at what we thought was a pretty high rate. And the lease took first. So, and I'm glad we leased it and didn't sell it, because the renovations that we did, it was in the $70,000 range. The renovations that we did probably boosted the value of the property about $150,000. So I think we made some good money on our investment. However, when we started looking around for what we can replace this property with, we couldn't find anything. So we decided to just hang on to it, and we got a better tenant because the property looked better, and so we kind of rolled with it. But it wasn't a nasty renovation. It was just an expensive endeavor that we just kind of, that was the path we took. We could have bought another house with what we renovated that one for, but I think in the long run it'll pay off. It'll be in the long run.
Right. So Michael, it basically tied up your cash flow.
Yes.
So what is, do you have an expected, or do you have a general payback period you like to see on that?
Well, this was kind of the first endeavor into that, and what was kind of nice is we have separate accounts for everything, so we were able to pay for the renovation out of our rental account. So it didn't really affect us personally as much. We keep everything separate. We have a separate account for all of the rentals. All the money goes into there, and it just builds and builds. And then if we need to make an investment, we pull the money out of that account. We don't touch that account for anything else other than the rentals.
Okay, so Andrew, by your question, am I sensing you have had a bad renovation?
No, we were just actually, JC and I wrote an offer on one over on the west side. And during our process, we were getting estimates with quotes for the renovation. We originally ballparked it as 70 grand. It came back closer to 90. So we ended up having to back out because we have constraints on what we're able to do. Mm-hmm. So I was just curious what your experience was.
Well, ours was over as well, but we were already into it, so. Darn it.
Yeah, so generally problems with those things usually involve money. I mean, one, you could have misanalyzed. Like once you got in there, there's way more work than you thought. That could be a problem. But you hear those stories all the time. There is a real skill in how you hire the right people to do the work, that you trust, they communicate, and it's a fair price. I mean, that's someone extremely valuable to you that, you know, I know your work. Your opinion's always right, and huge. I mean, even for any of your contractors. I mean, your HVAC contractor, someone that you know is going to go out and analyze situations, not just going to say, hey, you need a new furnace when you don't. But that's a huge thing. And most of the financial problems I see people get into, I don't know if they went the least expensive, but they just didn't check out the person, and usually they have gotten ahead of the work done, and the guy disappears. I mean, that's usually when you hear, I think I told you the story last time. A friend of mine went to high school, I mean, this guy went to Harvard Business School, and he lost 200,000. I mean, he was doing one of the first people in Chastain to pop the top. He was 200 ahead to the contractor disappeared. You know, so it takes some, you know, management of just, and you know, it's all agreeing up front and thinking this through, that here's the work that's done. Because I understand you got guys, subs, you got to pay them,
Yeah.
but here we've done 50,000 work here and you get 50 at time of sheetrock and this and this. You got to be strict on that. Just don't get ahead, because it's just human nature when they have too much money.
They get lazy too.
Problems happen. So, but I'm glad that didn't happen to you. So,
Quick question.
Yeah.
Michael, if you weren't going to flip it, do you think you would have done that renovation anyway?
Yes. You know,
For a
maybe
rental?
not as extensive.
Yeah.
However, every time, I don't know if your experience is the same or yours, Brad. Every time we transition a tenant out, we try to do an improvement. And every time we do an improvement, and this is our experience, we tend to get a better tenant and we get more money. You know, so we had a property that was, we bought it a long time ago in '99. And you know, we paid $140 for it up in Roswell, and we had tenants that were paying like $13.50 a month, and that was a cash flow for us because it was such a low purchase price. Well, we renovated the kitchen, you know, we just really cleaned the house up, and we bumped our rent to $2,100 from $13.50. You know, so that renovation paid for itself in about a year and a half, and this tenant's been there for 3 years. We have one tenant that's been in the property for 22 years. You know, and oh my gosh, I mean, he paid for the house twice. You know, I mean, we haven't paid it off yet, but
yeah.
we should have.
and that's, you know, that's your dream. I mean, I told you last time I've had 115 and 113. So, oh gosh, people that.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So, describe. So, what would you say? What's the biggest ally? And we're kind of talking multiple avenues at the same time. I mean, investing in real estate can be. We're up here so far. We've been talking just really buy and hold for cash flow, but obviously, you can flip properties. You could build new. I mean, there's multiple possibilities, and no house really fits all categories. It's usually, this is a great rental, but it's not a great flip, that sort of thing. But what would you say is the biggest ally of owning property? And I know it's too big a question. You'll never get it.
Appreciation, tax benefits.
Well, time. Okay, and Michael's already told you that story. Generally, I mean, hopefully you have made analysis. This is the type house I want. This is what works in my numbers, and that you buy it and you get in and you're getting that number. And we talked a little bit last week. I mean, as a investors, your tensest time as an investor is probably that first month or two after a tenant moves in. Okay, because you did your inspection and you got a great inspector. But there's just things until you live in a house. So you're just cringing, man. They moved in, and you're just hoping that text doesn't come up with their number. And if it does, you're expecting it to, but you're hoping that stops sooner than later. Okay, so it's just like, well, you know, this, you know, you're just like, so. But that's part of the process. Okay, so but time.
You know, to the point of time, because I have a great analogy. And first of all, so far everything I said is all happy. It's not all happy. You know, I mean, it's scary when you first purchase. But I mentioned our first rental home was our personal home that we turned into a rental. The intent of that home, we had a newborn child at that time. So the intent of that home was to keep it and sell it when my son went to college, and that was going to be his college fund. And as I mentioned, we pulled equity out and we bought another house, and that was for our second boy. That was for his bail money. That was always it. Thank goodness we haven't had to tap into the bail money, but it's early. So
You're being realistic.
and to Brad's point about time, both of my boys are in college, and we don't have to sell those homes because they're generating the cash flow that we didn't even anticipate when way back in the day we thought, oh my gosh, if they just pay it down and we could sell the property, we can send our kids to school. Now we're sending our kids to school and we still have the asset, which was a big bonus for us. I mean, it was a bonus. Now we see that as our retirement fund. This was blonde when I started. And it's not blonde anymore. So I'm starting to think of that, that next stage.
Anything on that, or so? But time really is your ally. So the longer you hold it, hopefully it's appreciating. Even though I'd highly advise, especially when you're buying properties to rent for flow, your total purchase should be, the analysis should be on the flow, and not appreciation is a bonus. It's icing on the cake.
That's my point.
And so many people I've seen as well. I mean, we've witnessed it. So you saw a major correction, one of the biggest, second biggest in the country's history, and we've learned a lot from that. I mean, luckily I was unscathed in that because I was doing things the proper way. But a lot of people in that run up from the 90s up to 2006 were buying for appreciation. Okay, just flipping it, and actually by the end, I heard many people. I'm not joking. An agent in my office came back. There were some new condos being built right behind, right Brookwood Station, right behind like the Jewish Community Center, and she was thrilled. She just paid $3 something, and I said, really? And I said, well, how much your flow? She goes, oh no, it's a negative. Day one, a negative $2,000 a month cash flow. And I'm like going, but she was so convinced of the appreciation, okay? And yes, there were stories. That's why it got that crazy. I mean, there were people in Florida that were flipping contracts. Like they hadn't even started the building.
Atlantic Station.
Right. I mean, I just made $100,000, and all I did was sell my contract. They didn't even put the footings in. Okay. Well, the more parties you go to and hear that, just human nature. I mean, we're just like, that's just, I want to do that, So, but she lost that property. Not just didn't make money or build wealth, lost everything. Okay, and in the downturn of 8 to 11, especially people that were doing the Florida stuff. I mean, overnight, you had no warning. You couldn't sell. The prices had dropped so much you could not get out. So if you have bought for the flow, you will weather those because the rents really didn't change, so to speak, and they might have even gone up because now there are more people not buying that needed to rent. So you are protected from any downturn if your flow is positive and the appreciation is just icing on the cake. And it's great. I mean, if you bought any time in the last 6 years, I mean, you might be 100 or 200 up in what you paid. That's just nice. It's a nice feeling. It's nice to know. But time is what helps that, as well as rent escalation.
Well, the other thing is you don't really realize the appreciation until you sell.
Right.
Right.
And so it's
Paper.
yeah, it's not.
I mean, it's comforting to know.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm in the positive. Okay. I mean, it's comforting. But yeah, until you sell, you have nothing. But the real key is that time will escalate rents. And I mean, I just first property I ever bought. I mean, next year, go ahead, take a picture of me. I will be the first person pay off a 30-year mortgage. I've had 30 years, original loan. Okay, and this is a property that when I first bought it, the rent was $700 in 1985. And now it's $2,300. Okay? So just time has caused that to happen.
So are you gonna have a mortgage burning ceremony?
I might.
Just don't do it in the house. It's finally paid off.
So time is your big ally, but you will make a lot fewer mistakes if you're buying for the flow. Now, of course, that that doesn't, if you're buying a house to flip in 3 months, obviously that's not what we're talking about. But if you're buying a home to buy and hold, the flow is the key.
And another benefit to Brad's point is in the downturn of the market, we have these properties and we're watching our stocks just plummet. And every month we got that rent check, you know, and that was comforting as well, because at that time it was kind of nice to have the added cash flow.
Sure.
So it wasn't that great, however, we weren't supplementing and we still own those properties.
Correct. Someone had a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, so Michael, during that time, like pre-crash, how many homes did you have? And then, you know, how was it for you guys other than refinancing? Like, was there a point where you're like, man, I made this mistake, I bought too many properties, or?
No, because we're a pretty small player, you know. We went into the crash with 3 and we kind of added 2 since. So, and the 3 that we had, they were pretty easy to rent, and they really kept us surviving and alive through some of the tough times. You know, we weren't making a great deal of money, but we weren't losing any either. But it did allow us to refi because we had enough equity. You know, so we really came out stronger than we went into it.
Yep.
Other than like the cost of doing improvement, renovation or something like that, what kind of dictates escalating the rent? How frequently, I guess?
So I think that's everyone. How do you
In
handle
our rent terms, it's we reserve the right for a standard 10% increase year over year.
They're a lot
If
tougher.
we have a tenant that renews and they've been a great tenant, we've not had any issues, you know, we might not up the rent on them. But I mean, if we're turning it over, we're increasing their rent typically 10%.
And
And there's probably different theories on that.
Yeah.
Mine is different on that.
yeah, I'm a little bit more lenient, just because it's cheaper to keep them in than to turn them over. You know, every time you turn them over, it's rent, it's paint, it's if there's carpet, you have to clean up, and there's vacancy times and all of that. We just renewed 2 of our leases at the same rate, you know, and we're fine with that. So.
And what's the period of time for your lease? Is it a year?
Well, you know,
2 years?
we start with a year, but what we always do is we always try to time it so we don't have 2 leases up at the same time of the year, because we don't want to have 2 vacancies.
Mm-hmm.
So we always stagger them. And I also, because we're in good school districts, I like to have the leases end up either early summer or kind of that March through the summer, because people are trying to move into those areas for the schools, and it's just easier to get a rent.
That's those 2 very good tips.
Like if we have a lease that comes up in December, that's horrible for us. Or November, December, we always will even push it out and give them like a $50 break on a couple months just to get it back into a good month for rentals.
And we've even done that in the past, where with our long-term tenants, we would have, you know, a lease that was vacant in December or January, and we would put them on like a 16-month lease.
Mm-hmm.
And 16-month lease get it better, just so when they do end, they're ending in the busy season for leasing in springtime is always.
So your answer is, how long are your leases?
Minimum year, but generally longer.
Yeah.
Okay, and mine are a year to start. I mean, it sounds great. I'm almost a little leery when someone comes in and goes, "Hey, I want to sign 2 or 3 year lease." I mean, that sounds great, but let's just say, as it turns out, I don't like them, or they're a problem. So a year. I mean, I have something in there that if we haven't, it automatically renews for a year if we haven't done something like a month before the lease is up. But that's more for my protection. I mean, once I've been with you 3 or 4 months, I'm going to know, hey, I might sign a longer one the next time. Mm-hmm. But sometimes just it's people I want to sign a 5-year lease. A little scary. I mean, it's a little weird to me.
That's for long term. Obviously, our current model is a short term model.
Right.
So it's basically through the booking process that we're getting that.
Right.
Are the leases drawn up that you can get rid of them before the year if you want to?
60 day. Ours is 60 days for us to terminate, and some of our tenants, they don't have the right to terminate, and some of them they do. So, and that's a 30-day notice.
I mean, again, you got to think through all the things. Let's just say a tenant wants to terminate. It's probably not good. That's not good, but then again, you don't want someone that's angry or doesn't want to be there there either.
Right.
So depending on how
It gives you the
rentable.
leverage.
Yeah. So, but back to mine has no escalation of rent in mine, and I'm not saying there's a right or wrong way. If again, having someone that's going to stay long term is fantastic. So I mean the 10% that I might make by bumping that, I feel like I'm going to spend in,
Flipping them.
correct. So that's just my theory. I mean, if they've been, even people have been there a long time, there's just something about you're just getting flow every month and you don't have to. These people are no problem, they never call. I mean, that's a big plus. So describe, Dave, like if you were describing to somebody just the ultimate property you're looking for, what is that?
For us, it's duplex, triplex.
Okay. Why?
We found that it, like you were saying, it gives us the capability where we don't have vacancies at the same time. So on that, that one property, that mortgage we have on it, if we got some person in there, we generally have at least 80% of that mortgage covered.
Okay.
Off one unit. And I think, for us, we're running right now the Airbnb model, so it works out really well for us because we have two, basically we're getting double the revenue on the same property, which is helping us maximize our profits on it.
Double the revenue is good.
Yeah.
Right.
But, you also have more vacancy time, so you can't account for 80 or 90% occupancy rate. You have to kind of account more for like a 50% rate in the long term over the year. But generally that your rates and your prices make up for that kind of thing.
All right, so duplex or triplex, could it be anywhere within 40 miles of Atlanta, or is there limits to where you'll?
For us, we like to keep it an hour from where we're at.
Okay.
Hour drive, so if there's something goes wrong, I can be there. We like the Beltline area in town. Both of ours are near the Beltline,
Okay.
or upcoming areas of the Beltline. And it really, it just works out. Honestly, the opportunity comes down to the numbers and how the numbers play out. I mean, if you have this perfect duplex that's down by Piedmont Park, but they're wanting $900,000, but you can only get a total of $3,500 rent, the numbers just don't really work out. So it's when we evaluate the numbers, that's kind of the first step for us to really determine if it's a valuable property, because you can get something in Marietta or Lawrenceville that's not exactly in the city that has sometimes better returns than properties in the city.
Okay, Michael, so here's what I'm trying to get at more. So let's just say, back to real estate, you have a buyer, okay, and you're showing property, you're showing 10 properties. The longer you've been a buyer's agent, you know all the things that a buyer would look at and go, I don't want that, okay? So big downhill from the street, okay, power lines next to it. I mean, these type things. What I'm trying to ask is, so me in determining whether I want this property to hold for flow, I'm also factoring in the ease of rental. Okay? So, and I'm sure you do too. So, what have you determined from your experience are things in a rental property that cause it to, like, I want that, 3 people look at it, and 2 want it, or things that I don't have those in my properties because they're never happy with things. Okay?
Well, I would say it's very similar to purchasing. Location is great. Where David and Becky are like in these cool areas. I'm an old man. I'm out in the burbs, so we don't have that cool aspect. However, we're in Roswell, so Roswell has a draw. Roswell has schools, so those are kind of the attractions to our properties.
Right.
Alpharetta property is near a great school. Roswell, our kids could walk to the high school from a couple of the properties, and a couple others you could walk to historic Roswell. So those are kind of the attractions. Now we're kind of looking in Woodstock, because Woodstock is becoming like Roswell, and the prices are still good, so I'm looking for that. But I'm always looking at, will someone want to buy it when I want to sell it? So it's not just about the renter or the tenant, but I'm buying it to sell it at some point, and in the interim I'd like to make some money on it. So that's really, it's whatever, as a buyer, to Brad's question, we all have taken buyers out, and you just want a house that's going to sell when it's time to sell.
That's right. And realize that over the years, the areas that work change. So when I first got in this business, I could buy a rental property on Dresden. I'm talking about Peachtree, okay? Like those cost $60,000. Okay? Now they're in a lot that probably you couldn't get a lot for $350. So that's how. Okay? So even though I think all of us probably want to have our properties as close to us and as close in, we are going in a world where you might have to keep bumping out to make the numbers work, plain and simple. But so what other things, like, I'll give you an example. A property that had 2 cars could park side by side would be way more valuable in a tenant's eyes than one, right? Or that even it has a place off street to park. Yeah. Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at. What things that this causes it to rent easier?
Well, 3 bedrooms, and because there are homes that have 2, 3's better than 2. More than 1.5 baths, 2 baths or more, I would say are pretty important.
So you won't buy anything that has less than 2?
No.
Okay.
No. And now if there's the opportunity to renovate that half bath into a full bath, that's a different story. So if it has the space and footprint, don't want to have to put a ton of money in it, but if it's all going to depend on pricing. I wouldn't be afraid to do work on it. However, if I'm looking for quick cash flow, I don't want to start with a renovation first.
Okay. What do tenants like? What attracts them?
Also brick. Brick is a great feature. You don't have to paint it. You don't have to fix rot on it. That's a very nice thing.
It's a very nice thing.
If it has double pane windows already, that's fantastic, because down the road we have some homes that have them, some that don't. We know prior to selling and maximizing our return, we may have to replace windows. So, if it has double pane windows, and a functional flow, you don't want a quirky house, and we have a house that doesn't have a front door. It's the most bizarre looking thing you've ever seen.
Like you come in through the window?
You come in, yeah. You kind of walk around the back. But it is, people love it, because it is the quirky house, but people, once they're in it, they just fall in love with it. So, and it's in historic Roswell, so there's some funk in there anyway.
Right.
I would look for a good roof, nice pitch, anything that looks like it's going to be a maintenance issue in the future. If for instance, one of our homes has sort of a flat roof, So we're out there a couple times a year blowing pine straw off the roof because it doesn't fall, you
Right,
know?
right.
And if you leave it, it's gonna absorb water, it's gonna go through the shutter, or through the shingles, so, you know, just kind of maintenance things that, I'm of the opinion that tenants don't give a blank about your house. They don't care. And if you go in with that mindset, you won't be disappointed when you walk through the house and see sometimes things are not kept the way you would keep them. I always expect the worst, and that way there it doesn't really hurt because that's my home and that's my investment. A yard that's easy to maintain. In some instances, we pay for yard work and we bump that into the rent because we know that the tenant's not going to do it. In others, the tenant maintains the yard, so something that's manageable, and factor that into your rent. So in the event you have a larger yard or a yard that may be difficult, and you don't think that tenant is going to be able to maintain it, put it in the rent and take care of it yourself. You know, so those are some things.
Dave, anything you find just tenants, attracts tenants, they like it? I mean, we said obviously location near good schools are good.
Yeah.
I agree with Michael. I would not buy a wood house, but it's dramatic the difference in me. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, I think when you talk about tenants, a lot of them are going to have pets and dogs, and so if you've got a fenced backyard, that's always attractive. If you allow for pets, you know, obviously we have stipulations.
Do you?
We allow for dogs up to, I think, 35 or 50 pounds. We have in the past allowed for pets, but we typically don't like to allow for cats. We have a tenant now that has a cat, but he's kind of paying for that luxury, so we kind of let it ride. But I think yards are attractive. I think when we talk about location, something that's convenient to, you know, if it's for walking or whether it's like a park or exercise or the neighborhood's like walking friendly, it's always something nice that tenants like to do because they're going to walk their dogs or they're going to, you know, go out for an exercise. And you don't want to have them on Jimmy Carter or something like that. It's too busy.
Okay.
What about smokers? I thought you would say that. I had an experience with one that it took forever and a lot of money to try to get that smell out of the
Same thing with, that's probably the cat issue
Yeah,
as well. Cats
those are
mark.
the two biggest smells. For
Yeah.
sure.
That home we purchased and did the renovation on, we ripped out the subfloor because they had a cat, you know, and we took the carpet out and that didn't do it, so we ripped out the subfloor too.
Yeah.
And also with regard to pets, we charge rent for the pet. So it's $30 a month per pet. And we get a security deposit as well. The reason we do a pet rent is we would love them to want to cut that $30 a month and get rid of the pet. So it's never happened, you know, but it's, you know.
So interesting. I mean, a lot of people won't rent to pets.
Right.
That's my value proposition,
Yeah,
actually.
same here.
So many people, you know, if they're out looking at houses, they won't allow it. So again, I want to see the pet and I want to hear about the pet, but many times that's going to put you as the choice
Yeah.
because of that. And if you can just ensure, you know, the damn, you know. It's in my lease, you know. I'm just saying, like, my main concern is nails and on the hardwoods, and you know.
Yeah, and if you're looking for rentals and you put someone who accepts pets, it drops it. 90% of the homes come off the list. I mean, there's a very few number that say pets accepted, and I agree with Brad. I prefer not to. However, you know, if they're going to pay for it, you know, that's fine.
Yeah, in 30 years, I can't think I've had a problem. Like when they were done, there was a big issue.
Yeah, just watch the breeds because there's, you know, you have to watch your liability as well. So, you know, ours is 25 pounds and under. and people seem to be fine with that. We haven't. People run when they see a house that will accept a pet. They'll run to it because
Yeah.
there's not a lot of options.
So yeah, Dave's right. Fenced backyard is already fenced.
I think there's one thing though, you had mentioned earlier about one thing to keep in mind as, you know, as a landlord, when you have tenants, is people don't live the way you live. And you'd be surprised or shocked at exactly how some people live. And I mean, it could be, you know, any tier permit. It's not just like one demographic. I've seen we've had some really bad tenants that have, you know, in the short term market have just destroyed it. You're shocked that, wow, people actually do this. They live like this.
Oh, yeah, it's
Why don't
amazing.
you share your recent story?
Don't want to get into that, but it was substantial. I mean, it cost us close to $4,000 in repairs, damages.
Yeah.
To the point where they were, you know, we have a glass cooktop stove in the rental unit, and they were apparently cooking directly on the glass cooktop as if it were.
So is it near a bar?
So yeah, I mean, and I would say, so I don't mind. I mean, again, I want my tenants to call me. I make it very clear up front that, hey, this is your house. You're never going to see me. But if there's anything that's an issue, you call me. I'll be there that day because, one, I want to analyze it, make sure it's not something that's going to grow bigger.
Right.
But two, this is an opportunity for me to come in and just look around the house and make sure, okay, we're good here. Or, oh my gosh, you know, we got an issue here.
And that's huge. That is huge because we're like that as well. The last person who moved in, we said, call us with anything. You know, and there were some little things, but we're on it, you know. And we learned that through experience because we had that tenant that was paying $1,300 a month, and they called us because something happened. We walked in and we see the ceiling just bowing, you know, and there was a leak, and they didn't call us until the leaks broke through the sheetrock and started dripping on their sofa. If it would have been dripping on the carpet, it would have gone untouched. And we know that this was a 3 or 4 month thing, you know, so we want to know what's wrong so we could fix it, you know. And we try to educate the tenants on the front end to please, if you see anything wrong, we want to make it right. We want to keep them happy because if they're living in a house where there's a roof leak, they just don't care. But if you keep your house nice and they keep the house nice, then you're going to keep them longer, and it's going to be a better relationship.
And periodically, even just driving by the property, you know, we pay for landscaping and pest control, and so we'll at times, and we have tenants will say, hey, you know, we're covering landscaping, pest control, but occasionally we might just kind of swing by just to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. But also gives you the opportunity to really see and check on the place. And obviously, you can't just walk in; you have to give them notice if you're going to go inside.
If you're renting a, sorry.
It doesn't sound like either any of y'all use a management company to manage your properties for you. Then
That's what we do for everyone else, right?
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's a lot of your profit. Now, maybe if you got up to a certain number of homes, which is far above what we're talking,
Yeah.
you would probably have to have that. But
It doesn't take that much time.
No, it really
would you say,
doesn't.
Dave?
No, I mean, it's a minimal amount of time. Last year we had to replace HVAC, and you know, we've had some issues, but you know, that's minimal.
So the cool thing is, so let's not go there yet. So fenced backyard is key. I think another one that people really like is a deck, or at least a patio. I mean, you know, Atlanta's kind of an outdoor. You know, a lot of people grill out, a lot of people socialize out. So that's a big one.
Backyard is nice.
Yeah, that's a big one. Private, you know, more private is pretty cool. Let's go to this. So to me, one of the bigger factors also is just the kitchen and let's say the master bath.
Yeah, and also, I think one of our standards is we wouldn't buy a house we wouldn't want to live in. You know, and the reason I say that is we might end up in one. You know, but that was always our that was always kind of our standard. It's, well, I could live here. And there's truly any of the homes that we have, I could live in and be comfortable.
Okay, so, go ahead.
Before I forget, if you've got a detached house or whatever you're renting, do you ever make a point to meet the neighbors? Have another set of eyes? I mean, just
No,
if
not
they're
really.
if they're willing, you know, just to,
It's never
are you better
really.
off not telling them you
No,
you're gonna
it's
rent?
just I don't see a issue with it. It's just never really. It's never really been
If the
an issue.
neighbors see something wrong, you'll find out.
Oh, yeah.
Well, actually, I was about to say that, but we went on. But I do that on purpose, at least the people on both sides. So I'll go over and introduce myself. And just say that, you know, I just bought this house. I mean, if it's a rental, they're used to it. But if not, if it hadn't been, just go, hey, I'm the contact person. I want you to have my name and number. And, you know, the purpose here is these, you know, I'm going to get people that are good and they understand it's in their lease that this is a quiet family neighborhood. And that's the way we're operating here. But anything, if you have an issue, call me. I think it really puts a nice piece in that, you know, there is someone to call and it's just not going to be, you know, just a wild card for them. I do that. And I can't say I've ever gotten too many calls, actually.
By the way, if they're too annoying and you want to sell your house, I'm the guy that
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm putting annoying people in. That's not a bad strategy.
Yeah.
So we might start teaching that, put in
Me too,
annoying
yeah.
tenants and get all the listings around it.
But Brad, what I would say is, so I do have a vacation rental in Florida.
Uh-huh.
By knowing the neighbors who live there full time, it is definitely a benefit because if there are situations, whether it's your yard or now I got a call from somebody that said somebody left like tires, like right, they just dropped them off. I mean, just like
Yeah.
you know tires. So they called me. I was able to have the you know taken away. But there definitely is benefit to have extra set of eyes. You know, especially if you have a property that isn't within an hour. You know,
Yeah.
where you can get to it quickly. So.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
may be because
Yeah.
we're close. So good point though.
Yeah, it's nice to, like Dave said, it's nice to be able to drive by and do that more often than not. If you don't, you'll be, I think one time, I mean, you know, this is a long time tenants hadn't been by in a while. I mean, literally in the gutters, there were things growing this tall in the gutters, like plants, you know, and I was like, oh my God. You know, let's see. So, kitchen, like, what does your appliance package look like? What does your countertop look like?
Our personal home was the last home to get renovated. So
Okay.
all of our rental properties have stainless and granite.
Wow.
And not high end stuff, you know, but it looks pretty, you know.
Yeah, Frigidaire, stainless or whatever, granite countertops.
And I agree with you. I mean, there are low-cost imitations, but
It's probably a $2,500 package.
that does, people like, I mean, that's probably the biggest sales of
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Same thing in the bath, if it's just a nice feel in there. That's where I've always put my money, plain and simple, is those two things.
Well, again, because at some point, if you want to sell, you're going to have to touch those areas anyway. So
Yeah. And I would say my number one of all strategies, not that I wouldn't buy a house without it, but I love finding a property that has already built in the ability to expand space. Okay? So I love a full basement that's unfinished. Love it. I've had many properties that,
what about full basement finished? Because that's more to paint during a turnover and stuff like that. Does that?
well, no, I mean, the rent jumps substantially.
Right.
You know, I mean, if I can, you know, if I can finish the basement, which doesn't cost much.
Sure.
And it's not, I'm not having to add structure, it's already there, all I'm doing is sheetrocking.
Yeah, yeah.
So I love, I might not ever do it, but I drool over houses that have the potential that you can add. I mean, again, think if it's a 3-2 and now you can turn that into a 5-4, it just adds so much rental income potential. So it's not the end all, but I do like when that's a part of it. All right, we're about at time. Let's talk. So I think you mentioned this before. I think the cool thing about what we do, and hopefully, you know, I've been in this business 30 years. I mean, real estate in general. And you begin looking at what you do. You're not just a real estate agent. You're in the real estate business. And that these are two pieces to your real estate business. And the cool, I mean, hopefully I appear to be kind of excited and passionate about what I do. I've been doing this 30 years. I'm still, you know, I love the deal. I love finding properties like this. And the great thing is, I think Michael said it, but you're already in the business. I mean, you're searching for your clients every day. So, again, it's the same search that, I mean, many of my purchases, you know, something came up on FMLS and it was just like, I mean, now you can see the pictures, just write it, you know? I mean, if that's really the price, write it. So it is nice that in one and the same, you're doing, or I've had situations where I showed a house to 5 clients, kind of like, there's the potential here, and then they didn't see it. I just said, I'll buy it. Mm-hmm. Okay? So it's really neat that your searches are one and the same for your own
And you can use your commission as your down payment.
Yeah.
Well, one guy, I don't know if it's legal here, but what one gentleman in one of the panels said was, if you see a property, increase your commission. Can you do that? If you want to buy it yourself, what he was doing is he was increasing the commission for the seller to sell it to him to 8%. So he would take 8% back to use as his down payment for the purchase.
Was the seller raising the price to cover
Yeah.
that? I guess, yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with, I mean,
But it's
Did he have the listing?
no, it was a for sale by owner.
Oh, a FSBO.
Yeah, and he said rather than give me 6% or whatever they agreed
Right,
to,
right,
just
right.
bump it up. And I'd never thought of that.
That's creative.
I could ask Lynn, but I don't see any so let's just say you've negotiated, you end at 300 and you're getting 3%, and then before you sign, you go, well, here, I'd like to, you know, what's
Get
the
an extra
percent?
point, yeah.
Yeah, so let's go up to 2,200 and 3,000, and I get 4%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whatever the
You get
number
to
is
use
equal.
that
Yeah.
extra percentage
As a down payment or whatever you
So,
want.
to help you get into it. I
Or
thought that was
repairs.
kinda-
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
That's pretty
I had
good.
never thought of it.
It's a pretty good idea. Who didn't get a book? Raise your hand. Couple minutes, any question, anything you want to discuss before we adjourn?
Usually, how much do you charge the pet deposit?
We do a $500 pet deposit, and then, well, actually, it's a non-refundable pet fee. We don't do a pet deposit, because a deposit
Well.
could get returned, but a pet fee doesn't have to get returned. And then it's $30 a month.
Anyone over here? Everyone get one? Okay. Any questions at this point?
Is necessary the landlord cover the landscaping?
I'm sorry?
Landscaping, whose liability usually?
It depends on the tenant.
Yeah,
As Dave said.
It's up to you as the owner to really decide that. We do it so we can control, you know,
No.
the aesthetics and the curb appeal of the home, and that's.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a worthwhile
we
investment.
take it. You know, it costs us I think $150 a month, and we just kind of wrap that into the rent.
I think it's a wise.
Yeah, we have,
That's your whole curb appeal is what we sell.
Right.
yeah, we have 2 tenants that pay for it themselves, and we have 3 tenants that take care of it themselves. Well, we have 2 tenants that take care of it themselves, 2 tenants that pay for it, and 1 who doesn't do jack.
So did you give them the option at the beginning of?
We could, well, you know, you're kind of interviewing these folks. So, you know, have you taken care of a yard like this before? Do you have the equipment? Is there 3 kids in high school? You know, you kind of get a feel as to whether or not they're going to maintain.
You know,
the
4th
property
lot of
themselves.
tenants probably,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, what about evictions? Do y'all process those yourself, or?
I've never had to do
I've
it.
never had to do it either.
Really?
No. I think it's very key to lead generate for good tenants.
Okay.
Do you?
Well,
We use a third party, $75 application fee per person in the house. And that's, we go through a third party company and background check.
Yeah, we use the one on FMLS. It's $35, and
One FMLS?
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's you can actually pull it up when you go into FMLS. It's one of the services they provide. It's $35. They do a credit check, background check, and what we do is we send the prospective tenant the link. They pay for it, and the report comes to you.
What's that under? What section?
It's in the different programs that are offered. It's on the right. I'll show you. I should know it, but we're
Can our clients
off
use
flow
that
right now.
same?
No, what
Or is
you
that only
send
for
them.
us?
Yeah, it's only for us.
so we'll put. I'm gonna put that next time. Maybe we'll start out by what makes a great tenant. Okay. But I tell you, of all those things you just said, the number one thing for me to determining,
Yeah.
just your gut. You know,
They all have a story, and that's why they're renting, and they're paying more than a mortgage payment because there's a story.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, just asking questions, but we'll talk about that. Let me ask you this. Next time, would you find it of interest if we maybe got like a high-level 1031 exchange guy here to chat with us? Because that's a big piece of what we do, not just in this, but in your real estate business for clients. And if you understand that, you can help a lot of people, plain and simple. Okay, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Dave. Just great stuff. The purpose of this is, yes, we want you to be real estate agents, but we also want you to wealth build where sooner than later you've established passive income that changes your life and hopefully gives you the choice that you could stop working if you wanted to. Okay? All right. Thanks, man.
Thank you for the book, Brad.
Yeah, man.
Into it, it becomes like a game.
Man, you get a book. Grab one.
Yeah.
You already have one?
Definitely learned by experience.
Beneficial woke up a whole lot of things in my head. I've done some property management, so that's why.
Yeah, Michael, I'd like to see that.
All right. Well, come Tuesday, but it's really our award thing, so that's probably the weekend.
Week after that, we can say.
Will you,
He kept going
What number are you calling? I haven't had to use it myself. So.
Yeah, it's tough, but it's like 45.
Did you know Maine owns all property?
do what?
Did you know Maine owns awful?
Oh my god.
Bingo.
So I'm like,
Yeah. I was like, I knew he owned a bunch of investment properties.
Right, so we do need to get them up down there. I just based on mine.
Yeah. No, I just was like, and he was like, I was like, what?
Yeah,
But Doug has more than he does. Doug has Sandra might be a good one too.
So, I've been seeing like some of the economics, like on, you know, because I know it seems like a lot of people have actually had property for a while, right? So if you're going to go today, buy a piece, right, a property, and you do diligence and you figure out what it is. So he's talking about like, you know, return on
That's when babies
you know,
grow.
investment.
Are
they looking
My
at,
dad texted right now, like,
annual investment?
Well, that's probably what they're talking about, even though, to me, that's not that accurate, because you could pay cash or you could,
Depending on the amount of money you put down.
right, so, I mean, honestly, I mean, just as a gut without return on investment, I think you're, unless you're just, and again, I'm very awkward with think you guys feel like the rents that I'm seeing in this area that I could get, this doesn't work for me if I live on one house.
Well, yeah, I was just thinking, you were buying $200. Now I'm actually 40%. So now you're putting down $160,000 net. Right, so now you're getting for this is $750 a month just on your maybe 800. So your taxes, say it's another 3, right? So you're 1,100. Is that all you're including?
Right, so I would want to rent, I mean, even if you put your 40 or 10% on that money, then you're flowing. Okay, which wouldn't be terrible, but I like to, I think my standard is, I mean, I'm kind of my minimum is 500.
So you're saying if you were to have 8, 3, so if you were to have 1,200 a month, you want 10% on top of that, so you want a minimum $120. So you're talking, say $1,400 for rent.
Well, no, I'm saying your number, 10% rate of return, if you put down 40, would be 400 a month. So with your number, my payments at 1,400, 1,100, I would be 1,500. And my number is probably, if I can't, 500 minimum, I'd really like to have 7 or 8.
So you're saying the 400 on your
Correct, you put down 40. But obviously that changes, some people might put down 5%, so your things are going to go up. And then I'm just going to factor in, how much I think rents will escalate.
I feel like we're on an upswing.
Or just how much I like the property. Generally, I'm going to put down more than 5%, but let's just say, the deal came to me, that's all I had. I might, knowing that I had flow other places, it's going to save me.
Yeah, I'd be interested with with some of the economics would be like, on that, because I hear people talking about taking. So you're doing that, then you're going to get you're going to bust it down. So you can actually out of your home, give a good rate, and now you go up to a higher rate.
We've talked about that before. I'm not a person that likes to have, I mean, my home, that's my family, and that's my sacred place. I don't want to mess with that. I don't want to, my home, if I need to have this much money as a reserve account, take me to 100, and then on top of that, I have sure, huge majority take it out of the house, but I don't want to, that's just cross the line.
If you ever want somebody to talk on rental, like vacation rental, I can
Okay, cool.
had, like I said, mine for 6 years. So I do use a management company.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, we'll talk about that, a whole nother angle there. Which probably there's some very big money.
Well, it's, if you're doing vacation rentals,
In some areas, I'm just saying, there can be, depending if you're in the right place, but then again, the thing about vacations is you probably have a very limited months that this happens. Sometimes, like I had a place in Big Canoe that I rented, well that rents 12 months out of the year.
yeah, you have to know the seasonality on when people are staying. So.
All right.
Thank you so much,
Brad.
Brad.
Here, let me give you this, call me, text me with any questions.
Oh, your name.
We're glad you joined us.
Bigger you get,
Yeah,
the
there you go.
less cute people
Have a
come.
great weekend.
This is our calendar that they give out every month. Hey, Greg, take care. We need some cherry juice.
Some of them
Let
see
go.
some more, but
Yeah, I got here juice on the way.
this is our once a month. We just started this.
Dandelion ribbon tea.
So he told us at the first meeting, I'm like,
It'll draw.
giving everybody get a free for sure. This year, night you're supposed to start because I'm,
You got it?
Dandelion?
I had to switch.
But I'll bring you some.
That's what I should have done in the first place.
Fresh.
Because it's only, I think,
It's like Kroger or Publix? Like GNC or something?
yeah, but it's reversed.
Where you going this week?
It's reversed, so it's coming out.
I had like re-up the stuff.
When y'all move in this weekend, not to give me somebody.
Anyway, where we have a nice
So
situation.
this is
But
the night from Tati and
It'll
R.
be in the bag. But the same difference. I just had a fresh one.
Here's
I'll bring you some.
forefront.
Everybody.
Boston started those
Dandelion.
classes.
But we got all of
But
them.
in
Yeah.
every
And
you need to have, there's 2 books that you gotta have. One is called The One Thing, which talks about lead
Here we
generation.
go.
And the other book
Yeah.
is Red Book, is a Red Book, which is
All right. When he gave me, when I looked at the front cover, I said,
So there you go. You right, because if you don't take care of your body,
I got to look to see if
Yeah.
I have it.
Yeah.
But if I don't have it now, I have it.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
need to look
yeah.
to see.
Yeah.
Okay, so with these,
Is there coffee out there?
That's what you and what's going to do a better breakdown. I didn't pay for it.
This unit is so.
Because they're doing.
Do you have one,
What's
Chief?
the right
So
now?
that's
It's
different.
just 17.
Cause like you said, I paid like $25 or $35.
Sarah, bring you some.
So now, but they're adding books and stuff. We didn't have it.
Smaller.
When I came.
1680. There's a smaller 2-bedroom or smaller 1-bedroom? The smaller 2-bedroom.
is it $75 for all of them, or $75 for each one?
No, for all of them. Yeah, that's for all of them.
It's $1,200
That's just,
doing it with
and all the,
the
stuff you need for the class and everything. So they even added some stuff, but before it was like $25, $30, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so have you bought signs yet, or you haven't bought signs yet?
I've bought one for this lady's house that I'm about to list so far, but I'm having one designed because I want my picture on it as well, to brand myself, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah, there's this lady I met a while back, and she had this company name that I wanted to have. It's called like Own Home Realty. So I gotta find her. I don't know where she is now, and find, because I love that name. So I can, if she's not using it, I can buy it from her. That will be part of my branding. Yeah, I know Own a Home Realty. I know them.
Yeah, okay. Oh, I know what, I need to get my parking gallery.
Yeah, they'll do that at the desk when we came in. We saw that security guard.
But,
He owns it.
oh, this was great. This was
told
great. I really, just listening, it kind of like stirred up some stuff in me, because I've been vacillating. It's like, well, do I want to get back in real estate? Do I want to do ministry? It's like, because I spoke at a church Sunday. I've got some other friends who call me to speak, put me on a calendar and what have you. And I'm like, okay, what do I, because right now my whole thing is, what do I don't care what you think about me.
Right.
What do I want?
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And you know what? I was like, okay, I've been in the ministry. I've been doing this. I've been teaching classes, because that was the church I was working with. Somebody, he said, you got to come and teach a class. You got to come and do a class. And so
Ministry doesn't end for those that are called. You know that.
So I'm like,
I laughed at my mom because my mom, they're having a retirement party for her. She's retired from pastoring. So I looked at her, and she looked at me and, okay, so what you gonna be doing now? Well, you know I'm gonna be ministering to so-and-so and doing so-and-so. But I won't be in that, I won't have that hat on.
Right.
And I'll be more free.
well, see, that's the way I feel.
Yeah.
I feel free.
Yeah.
I can do what I want to
Right,
do.
exactly.
What I want to do.
Right.
And like I said, when this guy talked to me about classes, and I was like, when the ministry was like, oh, I stuck my foot in my mouth based on my topic. And then he was because he's been trying to talk to me for the last year about doing my PhD, in ministry. And I'm like, he said, so you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and you're going to start this paper, you're going to start your thesis. And I looked at him, I said, now how am I going to say no when I just stood up there and told him?
But if you have writing ability, that is huge right now. A lot of people that do have,
So the one that
because
is much bigger.
online, the thing, I mean, eventually you
There's
get to
definitely
a place where you need a publicist to do all that stuff for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Even
content,
unit.
really,
Yeah. It's not even.
writers automatically have it. You have something to say, you're a speaker, so the only thing you're doing is just translating what the Lord is saying to you into writing, into that medium. You know what I'm saying? And that generates income. But that still doesn't mean that your business bank, God is still in that too.
Yeah,
because
I know.
there's so much ministry going on. They incline on what they do. Because my number one thing, I said, Lord, I want closings. I don't want to be running around with people and they're not going to close. So don't let it happen. It's not, you know, so if I do run into somebody and it's not going to happen, I know at the beginning. He just allows that situation to happen because I know what's up. I don't need to be, I'm a steward of what you blessed me to have. Even
So,
though my
what conversation have you
I'm
had?
still a steward of what you blessed me to have, and I don't want
Not
to.
much.
So anyway, I'm thinking, but now that I'm hearing this and I'm thinking, and like they're talking about tennis, and that's why I brought up smoking, because I'm serious. In my son's place, we spent thousands of dollars.
Is he in Atlanta now?
He's in
You still in
DC.
DC? Okay. You trying to talk him to get here, or you trying to?
But I'm not talking to him to do anything. I'm like, wherever you go, because my daughter-in-law wanted to go. She grew up in California, so she's been talking about going back to Cali. I'm like, I don't care, because I'm coming wherever it is. It doesn't matter.
Right.
I'll be okay now. I'm going to be tied to Atlanta. I said, the only reason I'm tied to Atlanta is because my brother's still alive.
Right.
Big transition. I don't know. I'm not tied to anything.
Yeah. And business now is contractual and virtual. You don't. Nobody has to be stationary nowhere unless they're just vacationing.
You know, that's where I am. So that is good. But yeah, I got to go home and look because it's red. I know exactly what it looks like. The minute he gave me this, and I know
it's called the Millionaire Agent.
Yeah, I said, I have that book.
Yeah.
And like I said, I still have it, or I had it.
You just gotta know it.
I
and
know.
if you don't, I'll sow a seed and I'll take care of it. Make sure you just let me know.
Okay, but I think I think it's in my. I think as a matter of fact, I think I know which room it's in, and that's the one with all the junk in.
Yeah. But they ask you when they come in, read that, and more importantly, the one thing. In fact, I can see if Brad has a one thing book. Because that is about their number one thing with Keller Williams is lead generation. That's something their systems and everything is so intact and tight on the database thing. Because your grandfather then as a real estate salesman.
Yeah, but you know what I'm wondering now that I've had to put my license on and whether they're gonna make me take continuing education.
Probably not. If you're still within that period of time to reinstate it, yeah, probably not.
So I'll see.
Yeah.
I'll see. But anyway, if I do, I just have to.
Right.
But if I don't, it would be
You know, your buddy will be there to help you out.
Sure.
Get that studying done so we can get it going. But the thing I was talking about before we started the class was I was thinking about, okay, if I do an LLC, I want to run it properly because you got to have meetings and all that stuff. I said, and I was thinking, I said, Dolores knows all this stuff. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. That's why you bust out laughing. Because you've done it. You've done it administratively. You've done it with ministry. You've done it with your son, an attorney. So I'm just like, yeah. But what I would, I'm not doing nothing phenomenal. I'm just enough, because here's the other thing. I got about a dozen people. If I was able to put a program together and gave a good ROI, anywhere from that 15 to 18%. And the reason why I say 15 to 18% is because I'm going to be a part of this company called ProSource. They're the ones globally that responsible for teaching people about tax liens and liens and how to make an income from it as well as taking them out. So I said, man, the bottom, the minimum these guys are getting 18% for that. If I learn how to master that, this will be a service that I can render to investors. But I need to know how to put a proposal together to get a team of guys together. I can, look, my mentor is IBM exec. Then there's a controller that's about to retire. That's in New York. She lives in Pennsylvania, but she's a world changer. In New York, she goes to that church. Met her. Then I have a team of guys. There's a roofer that's a contractor that knows the whole game. Then I have another guy that is, he not only is he a home inspector, but he teaches it. I use him for my pre-drywall inspection and final inspection. If they switch to split this thing down the middle, it's $500 for both. But if you just, the most important, I always tell people, And when I get on my feet to where I can do it myself and have a part of my marketing budget, too, if you're getting a pre-drywall inspection, period. No, you're not getting out of that. My first client that I did that with, man, I talked to her, I said, I showed her Instagram video of the errors that my buddy found. He went into hers and found 13 errors in the new construction. And she was like, oh. I said, can you imagine if you had not got that done? And the builder kind of, well, what's this credential? You got them before you went. Okay, you already know. Don't even try it. Get it done. You know. Well, you know the timeline. Yeah, your timeline going to be right because you should have it done in the first place. That don't have nothing to do with the client. So, man.
Well, see, now that's my thing. It's like wrapping my head. I'm closer to the investment side. I mean, in terms of my thinking, than I am in the
yeah, because I'm thinking about residual income. Yeah, no.
You know, and
Well,
what
you
do
can
you call it?
Well, if we take together, you can work that. So I can work the sales side.
You know, so I'm like,
Think about it.
then the other thing I have a friend, and I really want to know about. That's what I'm going to ask you about. How do they work with, if you get a commercial property, do they make you put that with someone else and refer that to somebody that's in a commercial property versus?
They normally do because their commercial isn't as diverse as some other companies. But I know another one guy in there. I got a favor with Charlie. His name is Charlie Lockwood. Matter of fact, he's probably in there now.
No, I'm just asking how they handle that because I have a friend who has some
and that
residential
may be,
that really needs to be changed to commercial so she can sell it and get a whole lot more money for it.
Yeah. Well, as far as I'm not like a commercial. I could learn and get what I needed to get the credentials to be in that department. But for now, in the meantime, I can refer it out to Charlie to hand it out, hand over. But if there's somebody in town that has, I know one thing, he's very connected, town-wise, association-wise, affiliation-wise, with a lot of apartment complex manager, not only manager, but owners and all that. And the reason why I say that is because my other story, she started this personal assistance company called Police Assistant. And he saw it and he said, oh my God, when she come here, he said, he handed me a list of 20 apartment complexes of the owners that own those things. That was invaluable. And the only reason why she hasn't touched it yet, because they got them busy. She headquartered in Nashville, but she's really busy in DC right now and Memphis and Nashville. So they're trying to get over here to Atlanta, but as soon as they get all of those going and flowing, then we can, okay, now we can focus on Atlanta. They're going to be that made up. Because every property manager I talk to, they've been on the phone, even in my property, they've been on the phone with her and just like working this thing out. Bring them in.
Okay, so what do they do specifically?
Well, okay, it's kind of like, you got to think of it this way. Remember, before Uber came about in Lyft, the only people that had a chauffeur or a person middle class was a wealthy millionaire. So Uber get in there because anybody can have a job. We're going to help two people out. Give people that need work and pay them well.
Master buyers. I would be like, oh, okay, so you're not ready. Okay. He's ready. Yeah. He's doing a job.
They don't have to worry about whether they're drunk or not.
So does that count for your listing appointment? Yours. Yes. You count it. Get it signed. Sign the contract. Alright, you guys have fun.
So you can have full time.
Well, we're trying to set up this thing so that the cameras.
Or you can break up your project. In this town right now, a lot of the yuppies going out of college getting that
really. I need to find somebody to do our
cook, or they don't want
So I can get rid of
to
that.
shop, or they don't want to wash clothes. So,
They
right,
have
so
to
they
have
broke
it.
that, you know, so
And
they,
then
they broke it up
And I already have
into
the cups.
increments.
I have like
Okay,
80
this
of
service
them.
costs this, this
Oh,
service
look,
costs
I've
that.
been sitting
And
there
of
for
course,
3
according to
years.
where you live and the cost of living.
So I guess
adjusts.
technically the teams
So,
are
I mean,
based on.
they are tearing. I said,
That's what
girls, I thought you was
But
used to a
just
private
leave it Monday. I just realized we had a bunch of stuff. Let's just, shoot for Monday. But Wednesdays, it won't matter for you because since you're processing it, so if you're not done till Wednesday, I mean, it doesn't matter. So just focus on your move this weekend and have that week to do it.
Well, most of mine are in there, just kind of need to
think it's
like
Kaiser
update the addresses.
I said, you're the president, the vice president of who?
I think
She said, I said,
how you.
Make sure all your
yeah, when I
wires,
retire,
addresses are
or we get
updated.
close to retire, I want to end up in Atlanta. I'm against
Okay.
Atlanta.
All
She
right.
used to
Bye,
live
you
there.
guys. Congrats.
She's an executive.
Bye, Jason.
She
Bye,
hooked up
see
with
ya.
my baby daughter, and they got
Oh, wow,
you about to
that's
blow.
fantastic.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm just connecting the dots. I'm just seeing myself as a connector and putting
But,
things
like,
together. I had the
It's
same
like all
question. What do
plumbing
you
and
want to do?
electrical
Because
stuff.
I haven't really,
Do you think that's
it's
like
other than
bad?
education
But I asked for those things.
as
It's
far as
another
ministry,
place.
I haven't been in ministry as much as I would
Like,
like, and I got to get back
you're
into
just like,
that.
well, if
again.
there's plumbing
You know,
and
a lot of
electrical
ministers, they
coming
go,
out
"Oh,
already,
what do
you're
you
asking for ask for all of it. I would.
You know, I gotta get because because once you have your base and you have a finance going, you got your streams, you got building and starting, and God has got that. Then you can focus on, okay, I got more time to serve. That's what I've been doing, working on that foundation, so I got more time to serve. You know, so yeah.
Well, thank you so much for
You're welcome.
inviting me. And
Yeah, I'll be agreeing with you, Chris, what we need you to do, and how to go about it, whether you need to be doing this or not. Yeah, we can go out this one.
okay, so when we get my ticket stamped or whatever has to be done.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Hey, I was just calling you on the other line.
Hey, I don't want either one of you two this weekend at the grocery store with a fly out there. I've been talking to Jennifer. Yeah. Afternoon party? Ah, there you go. Yeah, I like Carl a lot. Yeah, yeah. Cool.
Outside the office? If you have a man, we can talk.
Hi, well, this is Becky Evans. I was the agent for Gloria Kim for your lease at 5970 West Pike Court. I hope you have been doing well. I just wanted to check in with you. I know that your lease is up at the end of June and wanted to touch base to kind of see what your plans were. My number is 678-596-6821. Again, the number is 678-596-6821. Talk to you soon. Bye.
And when I started my list, over 200 kids. That doesn't even include my parents, inviting their friends, Jason's family, or Jason's list. I had already absorbed the majority of the list. I'm kind of deeper back my list.
This is Becky. Oh, yes. Yes. The house was nice. We actually ended up, my client is interested in the house in one of the other homes in Barnes Mill. The client just, like, part of the view was great, but he just ultimately, because of the backyard, that river, that pond, whatever you call it, behind the house just wasn't a good fit for him. Like, he didn't like it. But yeah, he thought that the basement was finished very nicely, since you're the only finished basement in the neighborhood. The rest of the house was bright and probably more to his color palette liking. Although the floor plan, he kind of liked the one that we're most interested in right now. That floor plan was a little bit more appealing because it had that extra like bonus room upstairs as opposed to like that smaller loft. But I thought yours had great curb appeal. It showed really well. It just ultimately wasn't a fit for him. Yeah, you're welcome. All right, thanks. What are you guys about to do?
She's supposed to go to Cara's baby shower at Jennifer Barnes' house.
Oh, during the day?
Yeah, it's at 1 o'clock.
Are you guys in my car, aren't you?
I'm going.
Why are you guys
I was on the way here by myself. She was like, "Oh, I'm going too." And she jumped in the car, and I just didn't think about it.
Me sure I'm gonna go to that lunch if you wanna join us, and then I'm going.
I drove the GTR. I can't let her do
You can't let her drive the GTR.
Not in the rain.
You should have driven the GTR on the rain to begin with.
Because I was driving it.
But it's still raining.
It's fine.
Well, JC can take my car. I don't care if she drives my car. It don't bother me. Just going home with you. There's no anything in the car. Wanna do that?
Where y'all going to eat?
I don't know. No, we're crazy, man. I'm trying to get some work. Deb and Mike have like a gazillion houses. I'm like, seriously?
I thought they were under contract for a buy-side. I thought they found them a house.
Yeah, I found him a house for negotiating it. But Mike doesn't like the house, so I have a feeling Mike is gonna end up like not making that work. We got 16 houses.
I'm sure you can sort through them.
I'm trying to. I feel like at the end they're not gonna take a house that backs up to a main road.
Nope.
Take that one off. I'm gonna take them out when Dave can finish them. Do you know how Mike clearly has to sit down?
You just gotta give them reasons why you're not doing it. That's what I did last time with them. As long as you tell them why you're taking it off the list, they don't have to argue.
He has been a lover.
Tell you that Holly lost Anna's deal again.
Why?
I don't know. Anna is so wishy-washy. We're closing on Wednesday of next week. So Holly lost it like a week and a half before.
How does she switch to the other person?
She just keeps switching back and forth.
Is she pissed?
Holly? Yeah.
Did she ever pay for her appraisal? And she still switched?
I think the other lender said that they're gonna pay for the appraisal and something. I don't know. I don't know why she was so attached to the other lender. The other lender wasn't even that good.
Really?
Yeah, I was really surprised.
you were gonna drop off JC and then come back and pick her up.
I would have just went to a Target or Walmart or something.
For like 2 hours?
You know how long me and Dave go to Walmart? You think 2 hours is anything? Or else I'm gonna go to the office. I think Jennifer Barnes lives right next to the office.
Hi, this is Becky Evans with Keller Williams. How are you? I'm good. Do you have a couple minutes? I'm not sure if you're with somebody. Okay. Perfect. So I was calling about your listings at the Grove at Adams Pond. Do you have any homes available to close by like the first week of April?
Okay. How should I
You have
dress?
2. Okay. Are either of them on a basement lot?
I don't think I'll be acceptable everywhere.
Oh, they're 3 stories.
Dressy casual.
Okay, so the 2 that are available to close by the beginning of April, are they all 3
Okay,
stories?
so should I dress based on the weather, like I'm gonna be
They
outside?
are. Okay, and what is the price range for those? Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Are you guys there
All right, now what you said
tomorrow?
is Saturday, what time?
Not
I
sure
was
what
doing
time we'll get out there,
something
but
else.
probably you're there
Okay.
until 6, from 10 to 6. Okay, perfect. We will swing by. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks. Bye. Well, I guess we could. I could, What do you think about that pocket over at Windy Hill and Atlanta Road where they've got the 2 new construction communities, but it's still that pocket at Windy Hill that's all shitty?
I mean, all that space is gonna get better because you gotta think, like, when, they did a bunch of new construction there, townhomes. They've actually revitalized a lot of the retail right there.
No, they haven't. Like what? I was just there. I just showed the Buser Home community.
Is that
We
the
were
townhome
like-
community?
No.
But right at Windy Hill and Atlanta Road, that strip of townhomes are all brand new.
Yeah, but that's it. But the commercial all looks the same as when we lived there.
I feel like that looks different. It doesn't look as bad.
No, same U-Haul places right there, same food places, same everything. Everything that has like possibly updated is like on the other side of Cobb Parkway. But nothing north of Cobb Parkway has changed.
I feel like that area will eventually get better.
It's eventually gonna. Right? I think so. Definitely not like the other house. No trim.
Fix that. Fix it.
good. How have you been?
I'm good.
Staying busy?
Yes, making progress.
That's great.
A little bit at a time.
Hey. What is it? Slowly, then suddenly?
Yes.
Gradually, then suddenly?
Yes. I know I was just like tunnel vision there for a little while. I just looked up, so.
And you were tunnel vision.
What'd you say?
It's like she's like at these $400 houses. I'm like, you're not gonna buy them. Oh, we're taking this one off because we ain't got no background. I feel like Vinings Estates doesn't make sense. What do you think?
Where's that at?
Like close to Mableton.
Well, what cross street, what major intersection is it near?
Buckner. Like it's off of Buckner. So you'd come off of 285 to Oakdale to Pebblebrook, go all the way around in the back. So you're like inland.
Probably not.
Right from here, like you have to go in from here, and then you go around right here to here.
Probably not.
For Deb, she works at Cumberland.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was you and Misha's. We just scheduled a virus consultation with Rick Lee.
Great job.
So I guess you're not going to that thing, honey?
Oh, it's 1 o'clock already. I'm not even done with what I need to do. There's just something to see where I'm at because I can't show up empty-handed either.
You didn't get a baby shower.
Yeah, not yet.
She having a girl or a boy? She's having a girl. She told me I would have packed something for you.
That's okay. Anything, Amazon I got her. I just saw the invite yesterday and I was like, man, no, don't put it out. Tell me about anything.
Maybe if you're in town, would you buy a house that's behind another house?
That's a tough one for me. I'm still not a fan. I feel like you're going to pay a premium in this market, and you already have an objection if the market shifted. That's my
Because
concern.
most buyers don't want to have to be on shared driveway to go behind a house to get to their house.
Shared driveway in town is no big deal, but to use it and you're behind it in a house, like that's just.
Yeah, I mean, it's shared driveway's fine as long as it's like house on left, house on right, but not house behind staggered, right?
Mm-hmm.
JC along with Keller Williams. I'm trying to reach Amy Orton. She's the contact person for the Northridge development, the Northridge condo community. Thank you. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye.
Yo, what's up? What's going on? Hey. What's up? Okay. What's their number? Yeah, Texas, I don't miss it. I wonder if this is them calling. Is it a 706 number?
This is JC along with Keller Williams. Reaching out to you, I have a buyer under
Hold on one
contract
second.
in the Northridge condo community. I just had a couple questions for you. If you give me a call back at
Go ahead.
404-819-9337, I'd appreciate that. Thank you so much. Bye.
Oh, okay. Yeah, send it to me so I just don't miss their number. Thank you, sir. Where you at? What you doing out there? You're going to what? What is that? Travel clinic. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Wait, what country do you need that for? Oh, okay. Right.
How are you?
Yeah.
Leaving at 1:15.
Alright. Bye. Are you okay if I show one house in Sunday morning? Chris and Amanda? They're not available until 6 tomorrow. The sun will be down by then. 6 p.m. tomorrow, so it'll be like 6:30. It'll be dark by then.
Surprisingly not still light at that time, because I ended up in Jonesboro at like 7. It was still light.
What time does the sun go down tomorrow?
No, it's not going to be sunny tomorrow.
What time is sunset tomorrow?
Sunset tomorrow will be at 6:28 p.m. questions on numbers.
Hey, Dahlia. I'm doing well. How are you? Yeah. Let me double check. So what I was talking to Mike about the other day is that Anna rearranged her whole schedule to make it light this week for closing, and she moved everything next week. So ideally, we'd do the final walk on Monday at 6 p.m. and she'd like closing to be for Wednesday, first thing in the morning. Yes. Mm-hmm. No, I'm supposed to reach out to the attorney's office unless it's easier for me to let you know. Sure. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Okay. 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 Six. Yeah, I think he said he had a 5 o'clock already, so he said he'd meet right after. That sounds great. I'm not sure what happened after. I know during the walk they said that they would have a shorter rod. Is that not the case? Right. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me do this. Let me add Anna to a group check, to a group chat, and I'll add you in it, and I'll just verify with her. That way you can hear it directly from her. Sure. Yeah. Right. Okay. So let me do that now. Let me add Anna to the chat, and then I'll ask her the question that you just posed to me. Conference chat, like text message, because she's at work. So. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Is this the auxiliary office?
When did they say it's gonna be sunny?
Not for a while.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's gonna breathe
It's
forever.
Georgia weather.
Yeah. You guys have a good day.
Have a good one.
I know I'm struggling with this.
Why are you not copy pasting it?
Because, like, when I copy and paste it, I have to, like, read. I'm almost done, I swear. It's just these two things. I did copy and paste everything. If I copy and paste it, it like cuts off what I'm doing because it's so long.
So, as you can tell, we've done half the carpet and the other half's being done this weekend. Yeah, this comes this weekend. So that's Amisha. Say hello to Faith. She joined us a few days ago. Faith.
Can you read my
I can't get a shoe on.
There's one
I
on
can't.
here.
Yeah, it's working.
Larry had put that it's a qualified contractor, but then I wasn't sure if it's supposed to be plumber.
This is like, it's uric acid that gets in the joint, but it's like sharp. Yeah, exactly.
No, I thought neuropathy too but it makes your toes feel like neuropathy. And so I didn't know whose office you were standing in front of that was hearing this conversation.
So, one person is already, there'll be 3 offices. There could be actually 4 desks in here, but one is taken. I'll just give you the choices.
Okay.
So that's one. I'll show you. So, there's one person here. Well, that's.
Oh, I guess we should say repair, blah blah blah, or I guess to replace with so that there are no active leaks when the water is turned on? Let's put this last, and I feel like that's like not as important, I think. It is,
Because that thing busts like fucking Justin.
oh, that's what his was?
I don't know if it was that, but it was the plumbing. It busted. The pipe burst. You didn't want that to happen the first day they moved in.
Oh, so that's what that does. It's like if it has pressure. Everything looks good? Hello, this is JC. Oh, hi, Amy. This is JC. I was reaching out to you about just a quick question on the Northridge HOA community. Yes, just was wondering, is the roof covered by the HOA? I have a buyer under contract, and I'm just trying to figure out who covers that part. I gotcha. Okay. So what else? Maybe you could just answer a couple more questions. What else is covered by the HOA at that community? Okay. Sure. Yes.
Stuff.
Interior.
Stacy stuff.
Mm-hmm. I gotcha. Okay, perfect. Just wanted to. Okay. Okay, yeah, just because we're in our due diligence period and we had the inspection and there was, they just looked like there had been some active leaks going on in the roof part, in the attic, and so I was trying to just better understand who was responsible for that. Mhm. Yeah. No, it's in the attic, but it's like where let's see, the lower front roof above the center bedroom. Right. Okay. Right. Right, I totally understand. I totally get it. Okay. All right, well, I really appreciate your help and your time. This one's 6434 Magnolia Way. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Is this on your website, you said, on the CMA? The covenants? Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay. Right. Yes. Okay, perfect. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okie dokie. We are set for, I gotta look at my calendar. It's next month. Yep, we're just trying to, negotiate some things out and we'll see where we go from there. Gotcha. All right, well, thank you so much. All right, bye-bye.
You done?
So I spoke to that lady, and she told me that, yeah, they do take care of the roof. But then I told her about this, and she's like, well, we can't really say who has to take ownership for that because it really depends until you have like a contractor go out there to see what's truly causing it. She said, because if it's an attic situation.
Okay, then put in there that seller to repair that. And then if the agent comes back and says, oh, well, the HOA is responsible for it, great, have them submit for the HOA
So
to
do I
repair
just say
that.
a contractor does that? Or a roofer?
Put roofer.
I put seller or HOA shall have the following done them. I don't care who does it, somebody do it.
Yeah. So I guess you're not going to the thing?
I don't think I can, I'm not done. So should it be its own
Just
thing?
put it under yeah, you can make it its own, that's fine.
Professional qualified roofer contractor, roofing contractor?
Just a professional roofing contractor. Professional roofer. You just put roofer.
Roofer?
Professional roofer. We're
Oh,
good.
professional roofer or HOA?
No, just
Oh.
just put salary based out professional roofer. I know, but that's what you can tell the agent. Like if the agent says anything about it. Right?
What were you saying? Oh, wait, what?
Hey, Clark.
Hello, hello.
So if you're not going to go to the car thing, then we'll just go to lunch with Becky and Misha.
Repair or replace? Should I put evaluate evidence of
No,
roof?
because it's the buyer's job to define what's
Oh,
wrong with
okay,
it.
so repair or replace the roof leak that was observed?
Just repair the roof so that there are no further leaks.
Do I have to specify the area?
Wherever it's located, yeah.
There are no active leaks or no leaks, to ensure no leaks. I don't wanna be like to ensure. Repair roof in the attic of the lower front roof above the center bedroom to ensure
There are no further leaks.
there are no future leaks. And then send this to Greg. And Ryan, you think?
Yep. No idea. Good question.
So, Jake's taking my car? Wait, she's what? You're not going to the shower?
I can't.
You crack me up.
We'll just do a gift.
Yeah. I feel you.
It's too much going on in my brain. I don't know where to go though because the people that were in there.
I can't get it to hang up. How do I hang it up?
What?
I can't hang up my FaceTime.
Who you call? Oh, they hung up. Who was it?
OMG. I couldn't get
You were
her
like
to
calling
my client.
Then she's gonna think you wanted to FaceTime her.
She'd be like, you never got the phone ready.
Alright, we're ready.
I'm ready, boss.
Alright, Lil. Oh, you ready, bitch?
I'm done.
What we eating?
I don't know. What are we deciding, folks?
Something good.
I'm open. No pork.
Are we trying to eat quick? Like,
Fairly, not like slow meal. Should have eaten my snack if I knew how long she was going to.
Can you text me Carter's number so I can text her?
what time is that supposed to end?
I think it's like 2 hours.
Do you want to go? Because Becky said you can take her car, and then she just ride with me.
I know, but then I'm gonna end up going like hella late. It's really weird.
What time is it from?
It started at 1, and then I still have to go get some things, and then
I ended at 3.
yeah. No, I would end up going to like Jennifer Barnes' house, and what if everyone's gone? Like it's just gonna be awkward. Nothing.
Why don't you just text Carla then?
That's what I'm saying. I said text me your phone number so I can text her.
Can you grab that box? No. Or no, we got it. Okay. Don't forget your pen.
Yeah, definitely not.
Just drop it over first.
You dropped in mine, you've never seen it. Box, liberal.
Gregory.
Oh, great. We were just bringing the box out.
What's going on?
They're recarpeting this.
Oh, okay.
Can you just put it out like 10 with the others? Like, there's one. Yeah.
Wait, what's going on? We just painted out. Oh, carpet.
But then you park it. But they're
Hi, Greg.
Talk to me any kind of way. You know that? You don't love me. Where you from? You're not coming from here. Yes, I do. You will share with me. Liar. You want to join us for lunch?
I gotta go. Thank you. Besides, I have lunch already. I can't.
Okay.
Yeah, can't eat lunch. I'm eating for 2 anyway.
Yeah, Jason just sent you an email.
I haven't yet.
I'm being celebrated. Yes.
Maybe a show for you, but
Okay.
I'm happy to do that.
And protect your commission. Oh, there we go.
Enjoy.
So the price reduction of $5,000.
So conversation would be, hey, you had an air company out, in the systems, 3 to 4 systems, were identified to have either mechanical or repair, are in need of mechanical or repair, and the systems are roughly 30 years old and are close to the
Air ended.
useful life. My buyer is would like to have this replaced and is asking the seller to contribute 50% of the cost, which is
And sounds. Their closing costs. You don't have $5,000. Closing costs, you'll need other options, the price reduction of $5,000. If they agree to that, then there is an amendment to adjust the sales price. That,
well, I took pictures of the units, of the boiler and actually freezing out. So I got pictures that I can basically send them over to him, when I even had that conversation. So,
That's done a good job of supporting the case. I'm glad you had an HVAC person that you could call on and trust and experience with
this guy is really, and I trust him because he's the kind of guy who I used him first. I called him on Saturday. Steve, we got a problem at AC and not having anything to eat. There was he said, well, I'll be out Sunday morning at 8 a.m. Right? Wow. Came out Sunday morning, 8 a.m. He went to Home Depot, got a part, charged $60 for the repair, right? And then he said, hey, you got a rattle in your thing. He said, I can replace it. He said, well, we can just see how long it, till it kind of dies. Well, it basically lasts for another 6.5 years. So he's the kind of guy where he's not going to he's going to shoot straight with you.
That sounds great.
And he only works on works. That's all that he did. Marketing and nothing like that. So,
That's nice to
so
that you have to be good business
yes.
to earn that.
And I told him I preferred him.
Great. Well, sounds like he's
Yeah.
in the market.
He used to work for a big, heating and air company. He was like a VP of, for this large company. He says, I had started doing business. So, anywho, okay, I'll give the guy a call. Thanks.
You're doing well, Bob.
Thanks.
Hey Tom, this is Kevin with Keller Williams. Good. You're working on a deal on listing that had at 595 Willowbrook Run, and we're kind of waiting on, I guess, the buyers because they wanted to have a long closing period of time. So we're scheduled to close on March 20th. And I was just trying to find out if we had any type of clear to close letter or loan approval letter yet. Yeah, I'm right there with you. One of my clients just told me he's flying to Italy for the weekend, and I'm like, I wish I could just fly to Italy for the weekend. Oh, yeah, me too. That's what I was thinking. Tampa wouldn't be that bad, but yeah, I think they're flying to Italy. Just scratch my head going, yeah, sure, I can do that. It's Jordan and Erica Carroll. Yeah, that's what I thought. Is there any way I can get a letter or something? My seller's trying to buy a house, and they're trying to invoke a kick-out clause. So we just want to try and tell them, she's going to close. We just need to. All right, sounds great. Thank you. All right, enjoy your trip. Bye.
good.
Oh, I thought that we were waiting to find out if they were going to be able to do the check thing. So I've just been waiting for you. Okay. Okay, give me like 2 seconds. I'm gonna call him again because I just want to. I want to finalize this thing. I'm tired. I'm sure you are too. I don't know. That's why I'm like okay. Okay. Let me make one more quick phone call. I'll call you right back. Thanks. Bye.
Two. So Dominique is great. Young, producing big early. These guys are helpful. Not this guy, but the rest of the team is very nice. Katie and Clyde.
Good, how are you?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. But he isn't much, so don't worry about that. Okay. And then this will have 4, and there's 1 person down here.
Okay.
So,
Who's the person in here?
actually, it probably won't be in that much. The games team, who actually lives in Alabama and works West Georgia, they have like 3 or 4 people on their team. So probably who would be in here most is a girl named Taylor Art, who's give us maybe till Tuesday, so.
Okay.
Oh, this one's already covered. What am I thinking about? All we gotta do is move some stuff around, so. I don't know who, these are probably people being carpeted today with these. So, give us till Tuesday morning.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll give you a key, and there you go.
Alright, sounds good. I have the computers ready to go.
Okay. I mean, you have them now?
Yeah, because I work from home, so I have two monitors.
Okay, maybe were you bringing those in then? Like you have now?
No, not right now.
Okay,
They're
okay,
at
okay.
home.
I was gonna say, I'll move something around, you wanna bring them in.
No.
But, okay, here we go. So, I'll let you pick, there'll be desk. Where you pick like that, sort of, you pick it. Godfather.
I'm from military family.
Oh, there you
It's
go.
in my blood.
You just don't do that, yeah. There's people, I'm telling you, that's their code. I mean, they won't, not in a restaurant, not nothing.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even y'all are female, so the males are usually supposed to fix the doors. So I
Okay. We're rolling now. We got you, I'll text you, but. Okay, well, I'm not sure where you're Sunday night, but. Okay, have a good weekend.
Stephen said he would contribute $250, and then we could split the other $7. Yeah, I mean, if we could co-brand together, lender and agent, I think that would be a good thing. That's right. Exactly right. So I'll talk to him on that. Okay. And see, what else was I going to ask you? Oh, I know I was going to tell you. Steve and I were talking, and we thought it would be cool to the sponsors for the 5K if you, as the chair of the 5K, could send a note to all of them thanking them for their support. Well, you can make a personal note card, and I can send you a picture of the two girls with Down syndrome that were there at the beginning of the race. Yeah, so I can send you that picture. Then you could probably put that on the front of a card, and then send it out. I mean, it's what is it, about 20 people or something like that? You're right, exactly. Okay. Okay, I'll send that to you, and then, I'll call Steve on the other, are you gonna come tomorrow night to, Semper Fi? 5 o'clock we're having like a husband and wife get together for the nights? It was in the activities. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh. There was some. It's in Woodstock. It's called Semper Fi. The address was in the thing I sent out. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I haven't either, so don't worry. If not, we'll sit at our own table. I don't know. Steve has been working with the Women's Auxiliary on this with his wife. So we'll see. Well, there's something else I wanted to ask you. I can't think of it. Shoot. Getting old. Anyway. Oh well. Did Stephen Hill, has he reached out to you on, yeah, he called me and told me that he's going to let his father-in-law sell his house and help him find another one. I've been sending him wine and taking him stuff, and and I bought an insurance policy from him to help him. Right. Yeah. Right. Right. Right.